Hello, everyone. I'm Derek Mazzarella here with Gateway Financial Partners. I'm really excited about our guest today, Nicholas Greene from the Miele team at Keller Williams Real Estate. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. So today we've got a very exciting topic. It's probably on top of everyone's mind, especially people that are looking to buy a house. It's how do you buy a property in a really tight real estate market? So luckily we've got Nick here, the expert, to kind of walk us through how we can navigate that. But first, we'll talk a little bit about how awesome Nick is. He's a Connecticut real estate here with the Miele team at Keller Williams in West Hartford. Nick is a UConn graduate, class of 2013, making me feel old. He has experienced career roles in retail. He's assistant director of human resources. Does some small business, health, and life insurance sales. And Nick has been a full-time real estate professional for over 3 years now, helping over dozens of sellers, buyers, and investors achieve their real estate goals and needs. Nicholas covers the entire state of Connecticut with real estate emphasis on New Haven, Hartford, Litchfield, and Fairfield County. So Nick, so excited to have you. Let's get rolling. I know everyone wants to answer these questions here, but so, realtor is kind of like why do I need to do this myself, right? So how do you really kind of help clients?
Yeah, no. Great question, and appreciate you having me on here, and thank you for the introduction. There's a lot to handle when it comes to buyers, sellers, investors. We'll have a little bit more focus on buyers today because it's a very competitive market and everyone's wondering, how do you win? I think it really is going to start with building a rapport with your buyer. I'm a huge fan of buyer consultations. I don't open up any doors unless me and the buyer actually have a sit down. Nowadays, it's great with Zoom calls like this to actually make it a little bit more efficient. So some buyers don't have to feel like they have to drive to the office and sit down, and it seems like it's very formal, but we can keep it casual on Zoom. The buyer consult definitely consists of going over every step of the buying process. Something I've learned in this industry is that you can talk to a lot of people and everyone has a different perspective on what real estate is, what goes into it, buying a home. Maybe they've heard stories about the crash or how their parents bought a house, and we're in a completely different time of buying homes right now. So the buyer consultation is extremely important because it's your chance to really cover everything that goes into buying a home, from the hello to the shaking the hands at the closing table and saying congratulations. On average, it takes 40 to 45 days to close on a property, but within those 45 days, a ton happens. There's a lot of pre-approval and underwriting going on with the loan, appraisals, inspections, title searches, attorneys are doing a lot of work, home insurance. And I think that everyone needs to see the full scope from beginning to end so that you're not going into the market blindly, which can happen a lot. It's very exciting. You want to get into some homes, you want to become a homeowner. It's fun to go out and see homes as well, right? I mean, you're walking through some beautiful homes and you're envisioning yourself living there. Right. So it gets very exciting, but I've realized that I kind of need to calm down the buyer at first, show them step by step of what's going on so they have the full scope of everything. From there, definitely an amazing relationship with your lender. For any sports fanatics, it's kind of like your lender is like the Shaq and Kobe when you have a real estate agent and a loan officer. Especially right now, we've seen rates go from 3% in fall of 2021 to just this week they're starting to average upwards of 5.6%. So you may have been pre-approved a month ago and your mortgage payment is completely different today. So I think that the relationship you have with your lender, which I do advise talking to 2 or 3, when you first start, get a sense of maybe your personal bank, a mortgage broker, and learn what closing costs are and what they, consist of. Learn what underwriting is, learn why protecting your escrow and putting, down payment, whether how much you're putting down affects your mortgage payment. Even you being a financial advisor, it's very smart to know your finances, right? It's another thing you do not want to walk into blindly. And I do think that having that relationship, even with weekly check-ins, is going to keep you as a buyer very informed, very active in the market, and you're going to know your numbers. And when you know your numbers, your offers are going to be a lot more confident. That right there, I mean, those two things I've seen in the last 2 years alone from when this competitive, market have really started to tick up after the quarantine and COVID came in March 2020. Those two things together have helped me build very strong relationships with my clients, and also my trusted lenders. And from there, I just feel a much better, confident, and comfortable connection with the buyers when we're going to see homes, when it's inspection time, when it's appraisal time, because they're not surprised by anything. I covered all the bases, so they're not asking what's wrong if the appraisal does come in lower while we're in the middle of trying to get the house appraised.
Right.
That's nothing I never want to happen. My
Yeah, because I feel like, especially for me going through the first time, there's a lot that you just don't know. I think most people think, okay, I knew I needed pre-approval. I get my mortgage. Here's my offer. Give me the keys. Maybe I have an inspection in there, and that's kind of the general thing. But like you said, there's so many steps involved before you actually get those keys. It's important to kind of have someone like yourself that can kind of tie everything together and move the process along and say, hey, I'm coordinating with a mortgage broker. We got to coordinate these attorneys. I want to educate you on, XYZ. There's things that we need to renegotiate with your deal, and all that stuff kind of ties into it. So that's great that you're helping them out. So what's kind of a common misconception people have about realtors that you kind of see come up over and over again?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think that's been back and forth for some years, especially with a lot of these websites, like a Zillow or realtor.com, where you can go on and you're viewing homes and you click a button, and next thing you know, an agent might be calling you and you're going to see some homes. And it seems like, oh, I could probably just make an offer right here online. Like, what's the point of hiring a real estate agent and what's going through? And that misconception, especially with why getting a real estate agent, what do they exactly do? How do they get paid? How do they work? This is another reason why buyer consultations are so important. I cover every aspect of how a real estate agent works, what I do, what's my fiduciary duty, any costs they may have of paying a real estate agent in general. And usually you see those misconceptions in that conversation of people being like, oh, wow, I thought this would cost me a lot more, or, oh, I didn't know you don't make $1 until you get to the closing table. Real estate agents, as much as the jokes about you're in it for the money, or, the commission checks and whatnot, it's no real estate agent is even getting paid unless we are helping clients get to the closing table, which is a lot of hoops to jump through. And you need to pretty much respect any agent who is selling homes and being successful in this industry, because that means they're really putting their feet on the ground, helping out a lot of clients, building a lot of trust and rapport. Obviously, the word of mouth continues to spread, and they're doing something right to get people into homes. You can try to, make offers right online. Unfortunately, that's not really much of a feature now. And having a real estate agent, not only to educate you, but to be a local kind of economist for you, as well as some of the relationships they might have with other co-brokes, which can nowadays also help you possibly win an offer. Because if you've been an agent in a certain area and you do very good business and you get the job done, you have great communication, a selling agent or buying agent may notice that, and definitely you'd be able to stick out a little bit more while making an offer. So really, depending on who you are working with, it can be a huge plus or negative to you winning an offer. And it's something else I tell every single buyer, even when I'm having buyer consultations: please talk to other real estate agents, interview others, line me up against a couple other real estate agents so that you know exactly who you're going to be working with. What do they offer? What does their brokerage offer? And what are they doing in this competitive market to help you win an offer? So if you have any kind of misconceptions about real estate agents, honestly, sit down with them and ask them the hard-hitting questions, and see what the answers are.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think we run into that in our industry. I think it's a lot about finding the right fit for yourself, and the right personality, the right type of service you're looking for, because it can be a broad term, but people have different specialties as well. So it's kind of important to know how that works. So why don't we get into it? Let's transition to, all right, let's get a little bit of background on how do we get here with the market. 2020 happens, all of a sudden it's like toilet paper frenzy, but with real estate, right? So how do we walk us through that?
Yeah, that's my favorite reference to make when I talk to buyers. I go, hey, do you remember what happened with toilet paper when COVID started, right? You got 50 people in the aisle waiting to buy stuff, but only 30 rolls on the shelf. So they're going to be gone quick, and you're going to have someone who would pay $5 for a roll and someone who can only pay $2.50.
Right.
Um, when COVID did hit, there was that 30 to 60-day pause of of obviously what's going on here,
Yeah.
because there's an extremely serious situation. In order to buy homes, people are going inside of other people's homes. So there was kind of a pause of no showings were going on. What's going to happen with the market? Stocks were taking a hit in March and April back then, and it seemed like suddenly everything went booming. A huge component was the rates dropping down as low as 2.25 to 2.5%. Lower rates means better affordability, quote unquote, cheaper money. So people were able to afford more. A lot of people were going from working in an office to now working from home. So they didn't need to drive 30 or 40 minutes to their job. New Yorkers were moving to Connecticut and still working and making New York salary, same as Massachusetts, Rhode Island. The generation of the quote unquote boomers and now the millennials coming in, as people like to call them, you're almost replacing one of the biggest generations, upwards near of 70 to 72 million people. Now with millennials who are coming in with about 69 to 72 million people who are working good jobs. They have good credit. Some of them, have their parents helping them out, and they're out here in this market trying to buy their first home, and that wave of buyers came in to also help tick up the demand, with the supply being so low. Supply was so low because in the beginning, people didn't want strangers in their house. So anyone who even felt like selling, health-wise and safety-wise, weren't putting their home on the market. Yeah. A lot of people couldn't compete with the bidding wars that were going on, so they kind of backed off and were a little bit timid on the market. Building has been a massive component as a part of this. From the crash in 2008 to now, across the country, it was about 9 million on average homes that we have not built since 2008 or 9, due to builders leaving the market and retiring. And after the crash, our generation coming up, we were told go to college, and that trade business wasn't as popular as it once was. So even for myself, I know a handful of electricians or plumbers or carpenters that might be around my age, but everyone else is usually a little bit older, and they're extremely busy because they have so much work for days. They're very backed up with supply issues, and that's also causing the building that needs to happen right now to continue to get delayed, which is delaying more homes come onto the market. Right. So a lot of this with working from home, a newer generation coming in, it's their time to buy. I mean, the millennials range 24 to 36, and that's prime home buying, times. Yeah, whether you're single or in a relationship. Yeah. What's that?
So we're not as young as we used to be. So
no. Yeah, exactly. The rates, which they're not 2.5 anymore. Like I brought up before, you're in the 5s now. And the supply to demand kind of has just really stayed there and has kept this a very demanding market. And it's not that there isn't the listings going up. Our team studies the market every single Monday morning, and the trends that we watch. We've actually seen for the last 2 spring and summers almost the same amount of listings go onto the market as 2017, 18, and 19. It's just that there have been so many more buyers trying to get into homes. Instead of having 2 or 3 buyers per home, we had 12 to 15. So these factors right here had the market in a frenzy. Which has continued now for 2 years, which is crazy to say. And I think that a lot of people in Connecticut and outside of Connecticut also started to realize some of the perks here in our state. You can be at the beach, you can go on some beautiful hikes and go snowboarding at some mountains. You can have a farm. You can visit New York City and go to Madison Square Garden. You can go to Boston and go see a Celtics game. We're kind of in the middle of everything. You can even go up farther north to Maine and Vermont, and people who enjoy snowmobiling and hunting. So we were one of the bottom states since 2009. Actually, I think it was the 4th state, the pretty much 48th state out of 52 that did not have appreciation like we should have since 2010. So even here in Connecticut, it's been very shocking to see the prices rise, but we're not used to it, So the frenzy of even people wanting to get in while prices were going up and the rates were low, kept the demand. And there's no matter what, whether rates go up and down or more supply comes onto the market, there's still going to be buyers who need to buy. Some like to dip their toe in the water, and some are out here, they need to buy due to jobs, families growing, unfortunate events like divorce or even death in families. So there's a need to sell, and others are comfortable in their home and they might dabble in it, but they're not really diving into it. So there's always going to be activity in the market. And we even saw that when COVID started, closings were still happening every day.
Right. Well, so yeah, why don't we, so I've kind of experienced this with my friends. I mean, I was lucky enough to buy a house right before COVID hit, so I got it at the right time. But for those that didn't, and let's say you're looking for a house, I'm talking to clients about this now. I had a client tell me just last week that an offer, they put in 20,000 over asking and it went for 100,000 over asking. So I've been hearing stories like this nonstop. I'm sure everyone probably listening to this can relate to someone that says, yeah, they put in 20 bids or they went to 20,000 over asking and they still didn't get it. So how do you position your offer as the best offer, even if, let's say, you aren't the highest offer?
Yeah, no, great question. Because right now, as important and nice price is, it's not the thing that's winning the deal, to be honest. So one, that buyer council, like I talked about, is also going to help make our offer stronger. Two is having a great relationship with your co-brooks. I call every single listing agent just to try to have a friendly conversation with them, introduce myself, congratulate them on the listing, ask them some questions about the home, and then see what are they looking for. Pretty much the same question I ask is, I understand that price is important, but what do the sellers need in order to comfortably get to the closing table? So that may mean your terms with inspections, how big or small your down payment may be to show financial stability and how serious you are as trying to close on this home. Your appraisal and the gap coverage. I know we can get into that, but basically what the bank says or the lender says the house may be worth, and if your offer is different than that, are you going to cover the difference in that? Which has really been probably the biggest winner in all these offers, is that you have buyers coming up with the difference of their over asking and what the sale price may have been. How quickly can you close, or how flexible can you be when you close? Because a lot of people selling their house are also trying to buy a home. So selling a home in this market is great, but buying a home in this market becomes a little bit more competitive. So there has been a lot of clients who close and actually lease back their home for 30 or 60 days.
So let me live in a house for 2 months.
Yep, exactly. So the buyer still gets to close on the home. The seller still gets to close and put their money in their pocket. And now they'll actually be a much stronger buyer in this market. They don't have a Hubbard clause and they don't have to sell their home anymore. They're able to still spend some time in their home to pack everything up. Everyone knows moving is not some easy task, nor is it a cheap task to do. And it gives them a little bit more time to go find something else. So the relationships with co-brokes, the terms in your agreement, the relationship you have again with your agent and lender, or even attorneys, to come together and show the sellers and listing agent how serious you are, how easy this transaction can be, how great your communication is, because you're representing sellers. You're trying to look the best that you can, and what you want to do is also not only choose the best offer, but choose a buyer who is hopefully not going to make it a roller coaster type of transaction, and get to that closing table so you both can shake hands and move on with your transaction.
Okay. So out of all of those, you mentioned the appraisal one. Are there any other things that you think have kind of moved to the top of the list in terms of helping you get those offers? Has it been more of the flexibility piece of it? Has it been just easy negotiation coming in with a higher down payment? What do you kind of see be the thing that pushes you over more than most other items?
I do think the flexibility has been very huge. I just had one the other day. It was, the sellers weren't going to accept an offer unless you were going to give them a July 15th move out date, because that's what they needed. So at the end of the day, you can offer 50,000 over asking price, but they need to move out that date. So, whether that's good or bad for the sellers, it's flexibility in closing in a market like this when sellers also are trying to buy is going to be huge, because it's going to give them some comfort space to be able to go buy something else. But yeah, everything I named is going to go hand in hand with each other, and it's, they all work together to get the job done. But the ones that stick out a little bit the most is definitely going to be appraisal coverage, unless you're a cash buyer, which has been very,
So just,
which has
have
been
a
very
lot of
popular.
cash, you're good, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
get only cash. Uh,
yes.
well, actually, you kind of mentioned something that I don't fully understand, and maybe if I don't understand it, then I don't know. Maybe a lot of people probably also are on the same boat as me. So the appraisal value, right? Let's say the house is listed for 300,000, but someone buys it for 350, and it only appraised for, let's say, 320. So kind of walk me through, how does that work? So it's on the buyer to say, hey, look, I'll cover that difference. Like, what does that exactly mean?
Yeah. So let me, for like a quick reference, before all of this was happening, you would, you make an offer on a house, and if you're using a lender or a bank, because you're not all cash, then you're partnering with a bank, and that bank is going to say, hey, we're going to underwrite you to make sure we're comfortable that you're someone that we'd like to loan hundreds of thousands of dollars to.
Yeah.
However, we are going to send a third party appraiser out who, I'm not an appraiser. Real estate agents are not appraisers. Appraisers are specialists in that field. They have thousands of hours of training on knowing the markets and learning the markets. So the appraiser will go out, review the home, take pictures of the home, and then compare homes in the same town, neighborhood, zip code, and compare the closest possible home to your home and say, this is what we think it's worth.
Gotcha.
When they say what they think it's worth, they're going to compare that to the sale price, to the value price. And in Connecticut contracts, it'll state that if the value is different from your sale price to the appraised value, there's a couple options here. So no, not everyone is required to cover the difference. You are able to negotiate maybe a difference. There's some people who say, hey, I can't cover that $30,000, but I can cover X, like $5,000 or $7,000.
Yeah.
There are deals that do get voided because you cannot come to an agreement and you're going to move forward. And the other option would be that the seller just goes, okay, that's what the appraiser said, and they're not going to get their loan approved unless I come down and sell it for the appraised price. Now, there's been so many buyers per home that when you have 30 offers on the table, the chances of a few buyers in there having the financial stability to cover this difference is much higher than in a market when one or two offers comes in after 2 weeks and there isn't a frenzy of trying to get into the home. So it was really that demand that was forcing people to cover the difference. But now it is almost felt like a normal thing because it has been happening for 2 years. You can offer $1 million on a $400,000 home. That's great. But if the bank comes in and says, we think it's worth 400, we're not going to loan you out $1 million. That's what the bank is going to give you.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. All right, Nick, thanks so much. A lot of awesome information. One final question. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Again, this is Nicholas Greene, the Meali team at Keller Williams Legacy Partners. You can follow me on my socials. It's Sold by Nicholas. And you can also go to themealiteam.com. Obviously, check out our website, check out the team, get in contact with us. We do a lot of fun things for our clients. We have Yard Goats games, Wolfpack hockey games. We were just at Gastro Park in West Hartford last night with over 300 clients. So we like to give back. We like to have fun. It doesn't have to just be boring talk about real estate 24/7, but we really appreciate, all the effort that our clients and the word of mouth they give to us. So we like to give back to them. In all of our events, we connect with Connecticut Food Share, so we're always giving back. So definitely, if you have any questions about how to get involved in some of our events, please reach me. Like I said, Sold by Nicholas on all my socials. And my phone number is 203-217-7137.
Oh, great. And we're going to post your information as well on here. So
thank you so much.
Thanks again, Nick. Appreciate your time.
Best of luck, everyone.